At the race, Yomaski finds his thoughts drifting to his love for romantic comedies about childhood friends. He imagines his own childhood friends confessing to him if they were in a rom-com. But as the race begins, reality quickly catches up to him. He knows those fantasies will never come true. Looking down at his palm, he sees that to win the race, he needs to find someone he loves. One morning, Yonaski wakes up feeling cold. Instinctively, he calls out Shio's name, already convinced she's the reason the window is wide open. He feels arms suddenly wrap around his torso as he realizes Shio is cuddling him. As he tries to pry her off, she only tightens her grip, forcing him to lie on top of her. If this were a romantic comedy, he knows this scene could lead to something dirty. But this is reality, so he pinches Shio's lips. Shio stirs, then immediately stiffens once she realizes Yonaski is right in front of her. She panics and starts yelling at him for sneaking into her room, only for Yonaski to point out that it's actually his room. Shio switches tactics and blames him for not fixing his lock. Eventually, she drops the argument and casually tells him she'll be at the front door. She climbs out through the window, insisting there's nothing wrong with using a shortcut. She doesn't notice the wind lifting her skirt. Yonaski hurriedly points out that she's flashing him. While getting ready for school, Yonaski tells himself it would be strange to start seeing Shio as a romantic interest. Still, he can't deny that what he saw earlier was sexy. When he finally steps outside, Shio immediately clings to his arm. He asks her to let go, but she only snuggles closer, insisting this is normal. As they walk to school, Yonaski feels disappointment. He's sure that to Shio, he's just a friend, while he keeps thinking dirty thoughts about her. He swears to himself that he will never let Shio know about the indecent thoughts. Meanwhile, Shio is irritated because, despite her efforts, she still isn't getting the reaction she wants from him. She subtly presses her chest closer to his arm, hoping to make him notice. Instead, Yonaski only complains about how hard it is to walk. Hearing that makes Shio grumble inwardly about how much effort she puts in every single day just to catch his attention. She convinces herself that someday Yonaski's heart will belong to her. An idea suddenly comes to mind. Pretending to trip, she deliberately pulls him down with her. Just as she planned, Yonaski lands on top of her. She accuses him of touching her chest on purpose. She recalls seeing a similar scene in one of the comics he keeps in his room, so she's confident that this kind of situation should appeal to him. However, Yonaski's reaction is dry. He calmly gets up and complains about how clumsy she is. In reality, he's struggling to keep his expression under control. Seizing another chance, Shio suddenly claims that she sprained her ankle, putting on a cute act in hopes that it'll finally make him flustered. Instead, she's caught off guard when Yonaski helps her to the side of the road and pulls out a first aid kit. Yonaski explains that he's always prepared because Shio has always been reckless. He even recalls how, when they were kids, she used to jump across rooftops and get hurt in the process. Shio blushes, realizing how closely he's been watching over her. Once Yonaski determines that her ankle is fine, he insists that they should continue heading to school. Shio quickly catches up to him and grabs his hand. The sudden contact makes both of them flustered. Shio struggles to come up with an excuse to keep holding his hand and blurts out that she just wants to make sure he actually goes to school, remembering how she used to drag him there when they were younger. To reinforce her excuse, she lifts one leg slightly and claims her ankle still hurts and that she could use some support. Seeing no point in arguing, Yonaski gives in and they continue walking hand in hand. Despite this, Yonaski feels a quiet wave of disappointment. He knows that this is probably as far as his relationship with Shio will ever go. As they near the main street, he starts wondering what people might think if they see them. Yonaski pretends not to care, and the two of them walk forward into the crowd. Still, he can't help feeling surprised that Shio is willing to be seen like this with him. His imagination runs wild because the situation feels far too close to a romantic comedy moment. They're startled when they hear something drop and turn to see Akari staring at them with a bewildered expression, nervously pointing at their hands. They immediately pull apart and try to explain. Akari's confusion quickly melts into a mischievous grin as she starts teasing them. As she bends down to retrieve her fallen bag, she struggles to keep her composure. Luckily, Yonaski is too focused on clearing up the misunderstanding to notice her shaking shoulders. Suddenly, Akari's demeanor changes. She turns cold toward him and accuses Yonaski of being a creep toward Shio. She claims that it's her duty as one of his childhood friends to teach him a lesson. She turns to leave, but Yonaski panics and tries to stop her, accidentally grabbing her chest. Akari immediately explodes, scolding him while strangling him. Shio hurriedly steps in and trying to calm her down by explaining that they were only holding hands because she wanted to drag Yonaski to school. Realizing the misunderstanding, Akari freezes before turning away in embarrassment. She calls both of them idiots. Both Shio and Yonaski feel awkward and embarrassed. They had both thought that maybe they were finally making some progress in their relationship. Yonaski starts imagining how both Akari and Shio would completely embarrass him if they ever found out he caught feelings for Shio. Once Akari puts enough distance between them, she drops her act. She pulls out an old photo of her and Yonosuke from their childhood. She realizes that if she doesn't do something, Shio might actually win him over. She regrets being so harsh toward him. Still, she mutters to herself that her actions are only because he's annoying. Her face turns red as she wonders if he thinks she's flatter than Shio. She swears to the sky that Yonosuke will pay for this. She tells herself she doesn't care about him at all. In contrast, Shio silently cheers herself on, convinced she can make Yonosuke love her. Meanwhile, Yonosuke vows that no one will know his thoughts. At school, Akari immediately calls him a creep when she notices he bought the same drink as her. Akari is Yonosuke's other childhood friend, but they are constantly fighting. Shio scolds them, but is called away for her class representative duties. The moment she leaves, they immediately start insulting each other. Yonosuke instantly regrets his words, remembering how, when they were younger, Akari used to be sweet and constantly stuck by his side. Now he can't help but wonder if she even considers him a friend. Hoping to make amends, he mentions his drink and casually tells Akari how good it tastes. Akari pretends not to care at all. In her mind, Akari curses him for not noticing her efforts. She had glammed up, studied hard so they could attend the same school, and even bought the same drink just to give them a chance to talk. She promises herself that she'll start being nicer if Yonosuke would just look her way. They end up opening their drinks at the same time, and Akari immediately accuses him of copying her. Yonosuke suddenly realizes he's holding Akari's drink. He tries to warn her that she grabbed the wrong one, but it's already too late. Akari's eyes widen as the realization sinks in. She gets flustered by the thought that she's just shared an indirect kiss with Yonosuke. Akari regains her composure and teasingly insults him, saying he's acting like a grade schooler for getting worked up. Noticing how red his face has become, she decides to tease him even more, even calling him a virgin. That comment finally makes Yonosuke snap back. He asks if she has any experience herself. Akari pretends to be confident, claiming that she does, and says the only reason she froze earlier was that the idea of sharing an indirect kiss with him was disgusting. Yonosuke fires back, insisting that he can kiss with his eyes closed. Their argument starts drawing attention, and Akari turns away, hiding her tears. The thought that Yonosuke kissed someone else hurts more than she expected. Trying to brush it off, Akari pretends not to believe him and challenges him to prove it by kissing her. They eventually find themselves by the staircase, both trembling with nerves while trying to fake confidence. Yonosuke notices that Akari is shaking, but she quickly mocks Yonosuke for his visibly trembling knees. After a moment, Yonosuke finally comes clean and admits that he has never kissed anyone before. Akari's entire demeanor changes, and she suddenly looks at him more gently. She cups his face and slowly leans in, leaving Yonosuke stunned. For a brief moment, it feels romantic. Just before their lips meet, Shio's voice interrupts them. They turn to face her blank stare. Shio suddenly steps closer, and Yonosuke begins to panic, worried that the situation is turning into a messy love triangle. Instead, Shio casually reaches up and pulls a loose thread from his hair, asking if they were getting close because Akari wanted to remove it. Akari nervously agrees, then accidentally trips, revealing her bear print underwear. Shio immediately covers Yonosuke's eyes. Yonosuke makes fun of Akari for being a kid, which earns him a sharp punch to the stomach. They immediately start arguing again, only reinforcing Yonosuke's belief that he can never be in a relationship with a childhood friend. Meanwhile, Shio mistakenly thinks that the two of them almost kissed and realizes that Akari may be her greatest threat. Back in the classroom, Yonosuke's male classmates gush over Shio and Akari, openly admiring how beautiful they are. They complain that it's a waste that both girls are close to Yonosuke and even ask if he's ever seen them change clothes. Yonosuke hurriedly insists that he doesn't see his childhood friends as women. He doesn't realize that Shio has just walked in. Shio pretends not to be offended and suddenly hugs him. When Yonosuke asks her to let go, she only presses closer, insisting that it's fine since they are close. She then asks if she can copy his homework. Yonosuke hands her his notes and tells her to stop clinging to him, but Shio ignores him. Instead, she casually sits down on his lap and starts copying his homework. When Yonosuke protests, saying it's inappropriate, Shio only rubs herself against him. This causes him to let out an involuntary sound, making him panic. Unfortunately for him, everyone notices and his classmates immediately start calling him a pig. Shiva defends him, saying that she and Yonosuke have always acted like this. He tells her to hurry up and finish copying his homework. Shio does as he says, but she's clearly pleased now that she's confirmed his weakness. She teasingly grinds against him, knowing it's an effective way to make him finally see her as a woman. Akari scolds them for causing such a scene and insists that Shio copy the homework somewhere less scandalous. She tries to pull Shio off Yonosuke's lap, but Shio stubbornly refuses. Taking it as a challenge, Akari tells Shio to scoot over and sits down on Yonosuke's other leg. The entire class stares at the bizarre scene as Akari explains that she forgot her homework and that by sitting here, strange rumors won't spread about Shio. Akari begins to fidget nervously, which Shio interprets as a challenge. In response, Shio grinds herself even harder against Yonosuke. Unable to take it anymore, Yonosuke scolds both of them and pushes them off his lap, accidentally touching their chests in the process. He quickly excuses himself to go to the bathroom. Shio becomes more determined than ever to win his heart, while Akari remains overwhelmed. Alone in the bathroom, Yonosuke can only complain about the girl's actions. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss a new episode every week.